I wanted to talk about maybe the way Black Lives Matter and gun control is related.
Sure.
It's sort of a roundabout way. If you look at recent examples of Sandra Bland and even the police officer in Texas that raided that pool party, I think a lot of police behavior can be explained by the lack of gun control in the U.S.
Do tell. I think I know where you're going with this, but continue.
So there's many videos where you can see police officers are being trained, especially in traffic stops. They're basically getting out of their car, approaching a civilian's car, and they're almost treated like an enemy combatant. They are constantly watching a person's movement while they're in their car. They're always making sure that there's nothing that can threaten their lives or their safety. And I think a lot of that is because there's extremely lax gun regulations. Any police traffic stop can be a potentially deadly one, since there's so many guns in the country.
All right. I mean, look, I think you're definitely on to something. I mean, there's no doubt that part of the problem is that police, and statistically speaking, I don't know if it's an accurate fear, but police are overly concerned about. Forget a judgment. They are extremely concerned about their safety. It is quite possible that they already start with a predisposition that African Americans are necessarily more threatening to them and are necessarily, on a different team. But nevertheless, even if you were to perceive that, if you perceived a significant threat to you as a function of a society where guns are overly prevalent, that would put you more on edge. I mean, I don't think it accounts for all of what happens, or even necessarily the majority of what happens in the context of an interaction of this ilk, but it certainly is a factor. There's no doubt. And that's why, you hear a lot of police departments, police chiefs, et cetera, they're all for gun control. And for part of that reason, because the proliferation of guns makes it more dangerous for cops, not safer. There's no cop out there who says, maybe if a sheriff wants to get reelected in a certain area, but most cops who are professionals will tell you, yes, less guns, better. More guns, worse, in terms of public safety and their own safety. And so, I think it's a good point, Dave, and I appreciate the phone call.
Yeah, could I just add that there certainly is racism in countries that do have gun control between police and minority groups, but I think it's different about the American situations that you see greater levels of brutality because of the lack of gun control.
Well, I think that's part of it, but I also think that's definitely part of it. But I think that the reason why our racism is in some ways different than what you'll find in a lot of different European countries is that it is so embedded in the fabric of our country, because that in some respects, the cops enter into that situation with a long sort of cultural history on which to draw upon. And it's not just an anti-immigrant. There's something else that's going on that I think has to do with, but your point is well taken, and I appreciate that. Thanks for the call, Dave.